another exciting edition of Fantasy Sports Review. I'm your host, Rob Castro, and making her inaugural debut for the 2012 season is my co-host, Clara Markowski. Clara, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Robbie. Thanks for having me again.
Some exciting games this past weekend. I know that you jinxed the Patriots as usual. You took them in your survivor pool against the Arizona Cardinals.
I think that probably a third of the population took the Patriots in their suicide pool this week. Let a lot of people down.
Oh, you did. That's all right, though.
But that's what makes the NFL fun, right? All these upsets.
You're absolutely right. We'll get into it in a little bit, but yeah, the New England Patriots definitely, didn't really show their true team spirit. I mean, I guess they dropped a lot of passes. Tom Brady wasn't finding the open guy. Aaron Hernandez is hurt. That killed a lot of guys' fantasy buzz, if you will. And but there was a lot of other exciting games too. And a few that just kind of jumped out at me was that Rams-Redskins game. I mean, who saw that one coming? I thought, Washington would come in, easily defeat the St. Louis Rams. RG3 played another great game, but couldn't get it done.
I don't know, though, because they played the Detroit Lions pretty close last week. So that was kind of one game I was never going to touch, just, of how they looked with Detroit. And then Amendola came out, had an awesome game. Sam Bradford didn't look bad, and their defense hurt Arakpo and Carricker for the whole year, season ending.
If you're a Skins fan, obviously the defense is affected by those two injuries. But moving along, Reggie Bush, the biggest top performer in this week's fantasy week. I mean, a guy looked like he was playing against Fresno State out there. Guy tore up the Oakland Raiders, had 195 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, kind of keyed the Miami Dolphins to their first victory of the year, giving Ryan Tannehill his first victory of the season. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think Reggie Bush is for real?
I do not. I think that, it was an awesome game, but, Reggie Bush, next week or fall, he'll go out and have 60 yards, no touchdowns. You just never know with the Miami Dolphins. I don't think it's their year this year. I don't think it's their year in the next couple of years. But they definitely look good. I just think Oakland looked awful.
Yeah, they definitely did. And then you also look at the Giants with Eli Manning, one of the top quarterback performers of this past week, threw for over 400 yards.
510?
Was it 510? Was it 510 on the dot?
He's on my fantasy team, that's why. The fantasy team that I lost by 0.3 points.
Oh,
I'd rather lose by 20 than 0.3.
Yeah, Eli definitely showed why he's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFC and actually in all of football. Rebounded from that porous performance he had in Week 1. And like you said, threw for 500 yards, looked great. But again, they're playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's trying to find their identity on defense. And then at the end of the game, Tampa and Coughlin got it. Greg Schiano of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Coughlin of the Giants got into it a little bit. And that was kind of funny. If you think about it, you play 60 minutes of football, and for it to come down like that, I obviously saw his gripe. I saw both sides. I kind of thought that, the Giants, I guess you have your say in that matter, but I really thought the Buccaneers, for what it was, like I said, I like them playing hard for 60 minutes. I saw no problem with it. I guess the Giants did, but we'll see. I guess they're kind of ticked off. But some other performances quarterback-wise that you saw this past week.
Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Jay Cutler disaster last Thursday. Did anyone see that coming? I thought that Green Bay was going to beat Chicago, but Jay Cutler, did you see that game coming?
No, I did not. I really thought that was going to be a high-scoring game, kind of aired out every chance of the way. I guess both teams played great on defense. Well, I guess you could say that a few of them shot themselves in the foot. A lot of drop passes, very sloppy play. There was a drop touchdown pass by Brandon Marshall in the second half that really kind of hurt the Bears' momentum a little bit. But I really thought, all in all, it's just a sloppy game. I thought it was going to be a little high scoring. I started all my players like Jermichael Finley, Greg Jennings, Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson. No, they didn't do anything.
They had a couple of drop passes, but Green Bay's defense for being one of the worst last year. Jay Cutler made them look like #1 defensive team.
Absolutely. And when you think about it too, Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall reunited again. I thought this would be a great tandem, especially going into this big game in Lambeau Field. But Jay Cutler's 1 of 10 in Lambeau. I guess when you see that stat, you're like, all right, he finally has to come to play. This is going to be the day that he does it. He's going to put up a lot of yards. They played so well Week 1 against the Colts. Even though it was Indianapolis, Green Bay doesn't have that great of a defense.
Exactly.
They gave over 30 points to the Niners, and then they put up, no points fantasy-wise between those two teams. I couldn't understand.
I feel for the people that had Jay Cutler as their fantasy quarterback last week.
Well, I was loving it because I played against them.
Nice.
So that was pretty good. Some other performances that kind of stood out, quarterback-wise. We saw Tom Brady didn't have a great game. We saw, Drew Brees had an all right game. But then again, you look at like the top 5 performers. Who are some of the guys that stand out?
Sam Bradford. I mean, I didn't think he, in week 2 of this year, did you think he would be the number 5 performer against the Rams?
I really thought Sam Bradford did a awesome job. I mean, I know the Redskins defense, and yes, they're actually a pretty good defense on paper, but they have so many third downs, just so many blown opportunities in that game. Can you credit Amendola and the Bradford connection? I mean,
absolutely. He's one who's also injury prone. He was out. Was it last year or the year before with injuries? Yeah. And no, he looked really good. He made, again, Sam Bradford and Amendola made the Redskins D look awful.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you also look at Michael Vick. Kind of had a fumble and an interception in the red zone, but still threw for over 300 yards. Threw for a touchdown. Ran for 34. I mean, he was another top performer. Finally, about time, him and Cam Newton, after their Week 1 disasters, finally fulfilled their quarterback, why they were chosen the first 4 rounds.
That was a huge upset for me. The way that the Eagles played against Cleveland Week 1, only winning by 1 point, and then coming out and beat. I thought that was going to be a blowout by the Ravens, and then they came back at the end and win. Michael Vick with that running touchdown. Yeah,
that was huge. They didn't let up at all. So. Then to round out the top 10, you have Phillip Rivers, who played exceptionally well in the first half of the Titans game. Brandon Weeden actually followed up with that 4-interception performance with a pretty good game of his own with 2 touchdowns and over 300 yards passing against the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Drew Brees to round out the top 10, 325, a touchdown. Threw for 2 interceptions, they lost again. I mean, is there trouble in paradise in New Orleans for the Saints?
I know, and coming out, Redskins beat them week 1. I'm all excited. We beat the New Orleans Saints. The Redskins might be the real deal this year, and then they're 0-2. So I'm like, well, how good are the Saints this year?
Right. I mean, that's another thing too. I know they're without their head coach and their interim head coach, so they have to start their offensive line coach as their head coach, and everything's kind of a mess. But you still have the same players back from last season.
It's amazing what a difference that a head coach can make, because Sean Payton's just a smart guy, and it shows.
Well, they have no leadership, and you saw it on 3rd downs. There was critical mistakes in the second half against the Panthers when they could have came back, only being down by 14 points with 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They could have righted that ship, but they didn't do it. And you're right. I mean, the coaching definitely showed why they're at that 0-2 start.
And also, too, speaking of top 10 quarterbacks, we should also take a look at one of the worst this week, which was, unfortunately, Peyton Manning. We all love him, but first quarter, 3 interceptions and a fumble. The last time that happened was in 2004 for the Redskins, Patrick Ramsey. So I'm really glad that we're not the last team anymore.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, look at the running backs now, switching gears a little bit. Reggie Bush, top performer. You just said it. You think it's a fluke. Well, I think the offense kind of underlies that. I think Reggie Bush is their whole entire offense for the Miami Dolphins. But then you have another surprise at the number 2 spot in C.J. Spiller. What is this guy? Is he all it's cracked up to be? I mean, I know he didn't start last season, and he came on for Fred Jackson towards the end of the year. But I mean, C.J. Spiller is making a name for himself in Buffalo.
Right. I think his first year that he came out, I think he was great, and then he ended up losing the starting job to Fred Jackson. And I mean, this is great for C.J. I mean, it's not great for Buffalo fans, obviously, that Freddie Jackson's hurt, but he can really make a name for himself and prove that he's going to be the starter in Buffalo next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have a rookie at Trent Richardson, who I wasn't that high on, coming into the draft, but he putting up a $109 with the touchdown, and then also that receiving touchdown he had he broke like 4 tackles and wrapped that touchdown. Again, over 30 points as a fantasy running back. Rookie too. I mean, is this a guy to keep on your team, or is it a guy to stash away and maybe trade him?
I think like Miami, I think that like Reggie Bush with Miami, that Trent Richardson, is pretty much their whole offense. I mean, he's fast. So I think you got to start him every week because he's their guy, he's their go-to guy. And then also number 4 was Arian Foster and Ben Tate both made the top 10 list. That speaks a lot for Houston.
Yeah, that's huge. We also knew that going in that they'd be running the football because they'd be up by so many points. They play in the AFC South. Not that much competition this year. Jacksonville's going to have a rough season. But again, if you had Ben Tate, wouldn't be a bad choice to pick him up or even focus on him because Arian Foster could get hurt. But then again, you also have Willis McGahee. You said Peyton Manning had a terrible game. Willis McGahee kind of picked up the slack, and they only lost by 6 points.
Ended up coming back.
McGahee is a kind of a guy that he's still a game changer at the running back position. If you have this guy, I mean, he's got 2 touchdowns, 113 yards rushing. Guy can still do it all. And I know he's a little bit older in age, but a guy to definitely have on your team, maybe in the flex position, is Willis McGahee. I mean, what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when Peyton Manning threw those interceptions, he was their guy. Who's their starter?
Oh, I know Sean Moreno.
Yeah, Moreno, and he didn't have.
I mean, that's one thing too. Like if you have Willis McGahee, you know he's going to get a lot of carries in that offense, especially when Peyton Manning throws the 3 interceptions. They need something to get going on that offense. Throw a couple screen passes out to him. He's so reliable, doesn't fumble the football, always finds the end zone. Great guy to have in your fantasy team. So if you have Willis McGahee, you're doing all right. And then rounding out the top 10, you also have Ray Rice, Jackie Battle in San Diego, got 2 touchdowns. One was kind of a garbage touchdown. And then Frank Gore rounding out the top 10. Out of this list, I can see, a lot of things stand out. C.J. Spiller, Reggie Bush, Trent Richardson. They're in the top 3. Are these guys you want to keep around, or some guys do you want to start other guys in place of these guys?
Well,
I mean, is it just 1 week? 2
of them that I can think of that didn't even make the top 12, which are LaShawn McCoy and DeMarco Murray, both of which are on my fantasy teams.
Oh, man.
And it was very upsetting because LaShawn McCoy, for the first 7 games last year, he got a touchdown every game at least, and he was running awesome for hundreds of yards. And now, yeah.
And same with DeMarco Murray, too. Another guy who played awesome week 1 and then kind of just falls off a little bit. They can't pass the football, and Seattle are down by 20 points in the third quarter. You're going to abandon the run game. So I think that's something that, all right, fantasy owners should just look to as, all right, well, it was just 1 game. No need to panic at all. Not like you have to trade these guys right away. I think that these 2 guys, especially you just talked about, I think you're in a good position with McCoy and DeMarco Murray to kind of lead you down the next few games. You'll be okay with that. So. And
LaShawn McCoy was playing against Baltimore D.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, that's another focal point too. They don't allow that many 100-yard rushers. But all right, well, the wide receiver position again. And you had some pretty good ones in Victor Cruz and Steve Smith. I mean, 2 guys that definitely stepped up for you big time.
Oh yeah, especially the fourth quarter with Victor Cruz hooked up with Eli Manning, and yeah, he had 199 or 179 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, and then you look at Danny Amendola catching 15 balls, kind of like Wes Welker 2.0 out there with 160 yards reception-wise and a touchdown, being your top fantasy performer at the wide receiver position. I mean, a lot of guys were high on him last season, and every right to be. I mean, he caught a lot of balls. Very reliable target for Sam Bradford. And it seems like the guy's always open. And a lot
of people are comparing him to Wes Welker.
Yeah. So I mean,
everyone knows how good Wes Welker is.
Yeah. So if you have a guy like Danny Amendola, definitely start him. And another guy who I saw coming into his own as a fantasy player, Hakeem Nicks, and he's at your number 2 spot. But you got to be very wary about him because he's always injury prone. Mm-hmm. And then you also have Dwayne Bowe and Roddy White finishing out the top 5. Then we have a guy, Vincent Jackson, who we saw in San Diego do so well last season. I mean, Clara, Vincent Jackson coming into a new team, new offense, great value if you could get this guy in the 10th, 11th, 12th round. I mean, no one really knew he'd do that well in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform.
Yeah, because he was one, Randy Moss. What is he going to do when he comes to a new team? He's kind of in the media. Got a little bit of a temper, but yeah, he had an awesome game. And I don't know. Phillip Rivers is more of like a well-rounded quarterback, but he had an awesome game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then rounding at the top.
Got him, start him.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I definitely do that. And then you look at Percy Harvin catches 12 balls for 104 yards. Demaryius Thomas as well. He's kind of Peyton Manning's number 1 target right now in Denver. Donnie Avery, guy who was injured in St. Louis last season, comes on strong for his new team in Indianapolis. A guy to definitely pick up on the waiver wire is Donnie Avery. He's smaller wide receiver, kind of gets lost in the mix when you talk about, guys like Coby Fleener for their tight end for the Colts and Reggie Wayne. But Donnie Avery's not a guy to be overlooked. And then you also have Brian Hartline, who caught 9 passes with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback, and then Reggie Wayne and A.J. Green as well. I mean, you look at the top 15. Deshaun Jackson's up there, Mike Wallace is up there, Brandon LaFell. If you don't have, if you took these guys later, good for you, because I think these guys are going to really pay dividends down the line. Especially a guy like Deshaun Jackson, who I know he's always out there. He's got a new contract. He's going to play all the time. But he's always looking for the football and always makes key plays and key situations.
And if he catches the ball wide open, he's gone, because that guy is so fast.
And then also, you got to look at Jeremy Maclin being injured as well. How long, will that continue? I know he's got a bum hip, and then, Deshaun Jackson being a flex guy, kind of in the slot, playing the slot. Michael Vick's definitely going to look towards him as being as their number one guy, and then being a guy that can catch balls down the length of the field like Maclin can. So, who's to say that Deshaun Jackson can't take over and catch 10 balls a game and average like a touchdown or two per game? I mean, he's kind of Michael Vick's security blanket at this point. All right, now going to the tight end position, it's kind of funny because you look at the two best tight ends in the NFL, Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski, but then you have a guy, Dante Rosario, as a San Diego Chargers tight end, catches 3 touchdowns, kind of out of the blue a little bit because he wasn't well used last season, but really making a name for himself in San Diego as being Philip Rivers' number one reliable target.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean the people that are playing with fantasy teams with 8 to 10 teams, I bet didn't even draft him. Right. So if he's out there, grab him, because obviously Philip Rivers likes him and he makes big plays.
I mean, he did on Sunday. I mean, even though we're playing the Titans, I think because of Antonio Gates being injured, this is definitely something. I would definitely use him to my advantage. I mean, I would definitely start this guy from week 3 on, unless he gets injured or whatnot. But then you look at the top 5. Vernon Davis, a guy, I mean, so high on everyone's radar. After Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham, you could have gotten Vernon Davis in like the 3rd or 4th, 5th round. I mean, he was going that low. So kind of a good guy to really key on. I mean, Vernon Davis is a heck of a target, and now he's becoming Alex Smith's leading guy.
And then, Brent Selleck against Baltimore Ravens, on sit him or start him. A lot of people said to sit him because of Baltimore D, and then he ended up being the top 5 tight end. Yeah.
You think Brent Selleck's a guy to definitely key up on? I mean, last season he was so up and down. Do you think
he's so up and down? I agree. He's so up and down, and it's again. I mean, you never know. I bet he's probably a lot of people's starters. Against Baltimore. I mean, maybe this is one of his best years. So I say start him.
And then you look at Jimmy Graham, Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, Martellus Bennett, Anthony McCoy, Brandon Myers, and Dennis Pitta. I mean, right then and there, you look at the fantasy points. The highest guy got 27 points, and the guy in the top 10 got 14 points. That's why we don't really stress, especially on this show, I don't really stress a need, especially a guy getting Jimmy Graham or Rob Gronkowski first overall. I mean, that's something that we talked about extensively before the season. Yes, they catch footballs. Yes, they catch a lot of touchdowns. Will Rob Gronkowski repeat that performance of last season, that record-setting performance? Probably not. So, all right, well, Clara, I don't know about you, but there's some huge matchups. But first, let's dive into your fantasy team. Let's get a little update on both of our teams. How's yours looking for right now?
Well, I was 0 for 2 this week, losing by 0.3 points with Manning, and, what really hurt me in one of them was, Nelson and Finley dropping so many passes. And the other one, again, as I mentioned earlier, LaShawn McCoy and DeMarco Murray did absolutely nothing. So, I mean, that hurts you when your running backs don't do anything.
Your top 2 guys, I mean, and you see firsthand how that can definitely affect you. I mean, my team's kind of mediocre. I had, I have Reggie Bush in the flex position. I have Mike Wallace, Vincent Jackson, and Reggie Wayne as my wide receivers. And then my quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, didn't do anything, but I still won because, like you said, Reggie Bush kind of picked me up a little bit. And then you look to your 2 key guys. I mean, you don't really see it right there, but it was definitely a tough go around on those Thursday night games because Rodgers only gave me 16 points, Finley only gave me 3 points. I had 19 points from 2 skill guys. So going into that, I was like, oh no, 2 of my guys are out, and I only had 19 points. 2 of my big guys. So. And
it helps if you play against Jay Cutler.
Yeah, and I was playing against Jay Cutler. I think he got like 4 points. So yeah, not too good. But all right, well, week 3 is finally here. We have a Thursday night game to look forward to. Carolina Panthers are at home against the New York Giants. The Giants are a little beat up right now with Hakeem Nicks and Ahmad Bradshaw out. Who do you like in this game and why?
After Giants' performance, they always they always, get it done in the end. I mean, I didn't see them going to the Super Bowl or even winning the Super Bowl last year, and they did it. Cam Newton had a shaky week 1, but Giants D though is a little shaky as well.
Yeah, right. They gave up 27 points in the first half to the Bucs. So I know Cam Newton kind of came on strong at home against the Saints. Look for the Panthers in this one. I like them a lot. I like Cam Newton to have a huge game. Giants are going to be decimated by injuries. That's going to hurt them a little bit. But I think the Panthers, you start LaFell. I think you start D'Angelo Williams, Greg Olsen, and Cam Newton. All right, well, the next game on our slate, we have St. Louis going to the Chicago Bears, the streaky St. Louis Rams at a team that's kind of struggling right now. Who do you like in this game and why?
I'm going Chicago at Chicago because their defense is gonna win this game for them, I believe. But Jay Cutler can't have another game the way he had against Green Bay.
No, I go against you on this one. I like the St. Louis Rams this game. I think they're kind of hitting their mark. The first game they played against the Lions, they were up by 3 points with 30 seconds to go. Ended up losing that game, a heartbreaker. Then they have the Washington Redskins, who featured RG3 on the cover of Sports Illustrated and played real well against them. I look for the St. Louis Rams to kind of repeat that performance on week 2, kind of go into Soldier Field. I love Sam Bradford in this. I think he poses a great matchup. The Bears secondary, kind of iffy. I mean, you have a few guys on there that to look forward to. Urlacher still plays on that defense. Lance Briggs as well. They do have a good front four, but I like St. Louis in this game.
And Michael Bush is probably starting for the Bears, which I thought he looked awesome when Matt Forte
hurt,
went out.
But you also had Michael Bush, so really you don't really
amazing.
skip a beat. But again, I like St. Louis in this game. Next game on our slate, Cincinnati going to the Washington Redskins. I'm kind of torn on this game. I like the Bengals in this one, but by a field goal. So I think Andy Dalton repeats the performance he had last week, and it's going to be kind of tough for the Skins to get going passing wise. I know the Bengals have a great secondary, but without Pierre Garçon, I think it might spell trouble for the Skins.
RG3 all day. I got the Redskins in this one, as long as Josh Morgan doesn't go acting up again and losing the game for us. But even though Redskins is a little hurt up, I just at home, the home opener, everybody's gonna be pumped, everybody's gonna be excited. Redskins can't lose.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I like the Bengals. You like the Redskins. In the next slate of games, we got Detroit at Tennessee. Really nothing here to look forward to.
Detroit.
I like Stafford, but no one on Tennessee is really worth my time. Chris Johnson's had an abysmal season. He hasn't been good since 2009. So
0-2 team. Yeah, Detroit.
I like Detroit in this one. And then you look ahead. You have Kansas City at New Orleans. I think it's being kind of a high-scoring game. San Francisco at Minnesota. Start Adrian Peterson. That's about it.
No question. Yeah, San Francisco.
I like San Francisco in this one as well.
25.
Jets Miami. You have two teams that are fighting for position in the AFC East. Two teams, one coming off a loss, one coming off a win. But the Jets have actually looked pretty good. I know they went to Pittsburgh, kind of a hostile environment, and Mark Sanchez really struggled in this game. Did we see Tim Tebow at all?
We did not see Tim Tebow at all.
You don't see him in this game upcoming against the Miami Dolphins?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just looking ahead.
No, because I think that the Jets have this no question. Tim Tebow's not starting. The game against Pittsburgh, it was Santonio Holmes that dropped all the passes. So him catching what he's supposed to do, that's your job. Catch the ball, and I think the Jets have this one easy. Yeah,
I actually kind of like the Jets in this game as well. I say you start a few of you obviously start Reggie Bush, maybe Brian Hartline, but you bench Sanchez, maybe Stephen Hill, Sean Green, but that's about it. Buffalo, Cleveland, this kind of has a marking of a game that I can see kind of being high scoring.
With CJ Spiller and then Trent Richardson, oh, absolutely. I think you got to start both guys, but I think Buffalo's going to beat them at Cleveland.
I don't know. I think Cleveland's got something to prove. New run game. Their defense, when they had to make some plays against the Bengals in the fourth quarter, they stepped up a little bit. I see them kind of limiting C.J. Spiller in this one, but I'd still start both guys. But
I think it's going to be a close game.
I think so too. And then rounding out the 1 o'clocks, you have Tampa Bay at Dallas and Jacksonville at Indianapolis. The Tampa Bay at Dallas game, a little intriguing because it's Dallas' home opener. You also have Doug Martin at running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had a touchdown last game. Kind of an exciting rookie, Vincent Jackson for Tampa Bay. Not too many guys are high on Josh Freeman, but for the the Dallas Cowboys, DeMarco Murray.
Their embarrassment.
And their embarrassment last week.
So.
I say you start DeMarco Murray. He'll rebound. You have Miles Austin and Des Bryant. Miles a little gimpy right now. Jason Witten. Hopefully we see him 100%. But I kind of like the Dallas Cowboys in this one.
And the way the NFC East is playing, the Redskins are finally, in it, with RG3. I think every game in that division is detrimental.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Some of the 4 o'clock games, you have Atlanta at San Diego. I like Matt Ryan in this one to put up some points. I think it's going to be a high-scoring shootout in San Diego. Definitely look forward to seeing that game at 4 o'clock. Then you also have Philadelphia at Arizona. Kevin Cobb playing his old team again, and they came out strong against the New England Patriots. So let's see if he can repeat that performance.
And no one saw Arizona being 2-0.
Yeah, absolutely.
2-0 versus 2-0, and there's not a lot of 2-0 teams right now. So I think that'll be a good game. Let's go Arizona.
I'm right there with you. And then Pittsburgh at Oakland and Houston at Denver to round out the 4 o'clocks. Start everyone on Houston. Start everyone on Denver, maybe minus Peyton Manning. And then you have New England going into Baltimore. It's going to be a great game. I kind of look for the New England Patriots to rebound in that one, only because they didn't have it on Sunday, and it showed right from the get-go. Missed opportunities in the first half.
Did they just play really bad, or is Arizona really, really good this year?
I think they just well, I don't know. I think they played pretty bad. And then you got your Monday night game. Obviously, Green Bay at Seattle. I like Green Bay in this one, but something tells me Seattle's not going to be a tough team, especially with Russell Wilson at the helm and Marshawn Lynch over there. I think it's going to be a great game, a great Monday night game. So we'll see on that one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Seattle played awesome against Dallas. They beat them by 20 points, but I agree with you. I'm going Green Bay on this one.
All right. Well, I hope that was a lot to kind of look forward to in Week 3. Some great matchups, some unbelievable finishes. I look forward to seeing. But we'll see. We'll have that side bet for the Patriots and Jets. So for Claire Markowski, I'm Rob Castro.
Thanks
again for another exciting edition of Fantasy Sports Review. Bye-bye, everybody.